So we are the nerdiest of the nerdy. We literally don't have anything cool like HubSpot and Super. They all do amazing things. We don't do anything. We just check things. So we just make sure the things that you want to be doing are actually happening, I guess is the best way to say it. So I know a lot of times this is actually like tutorials in HubSpot. This is going to be very conceptual. And then Ariel is going to walk us through some of these live examples. And then at the end, if we have a chance, we're actually going to get into some workshops. So if anyone wants to kind of pull over, open some systems, we'll help you get some things set up live. All right. Come on, love. There we go. All right. So I've got these questions on the screen. I can't find it. There we go. All right. So because this is my first hug and not my last, I'm sorry you'll have to deal with me again because I'm really excited about this group. Just wanted to understand, and if you just would do like maybe a raise of hand in the chat, or Diana, if you know this, how many people is HubSpot admin or an operations job title your primary job?
That's definitely something we come across all the time. Who's an admin? And it's your actual title.
Got it. So like a good chunk of the audience, that's your primary job. Like a lot of what I did when I was managing HubSpot was actually demand generation work. So I was very focused on like the work of marketing and not the work of the systems. So just wanted to get an idea. Yeah, ops analyst. Cool. All right. So how many people only support marketing? Ooh, VP of RevOps. Heck yeah. I love that there's VP of RevOps job titles out there. Like it just feels like our industry is coming of age. Okay, so there's a decent amount of people who are, I guess you could say if you're just marketing, web, or sales and CRM systems is kind of what I'm trying to understand. So if we need to spend more time on web, we could. Okay, so like marketing and sales. Cool. All right. And how many people are using HubSpot with Salesforce, if any, and how many people are just using HubSpot as their end-to-end? Oh, Sage. Cool. Okay. So it's a good mix. All right. That tells us what to focus on. So Ariel, if we do demos, we can show some Salesforce and just some HubSpot. Yeah, just HubSpot. Thank goodness. I'm here for it. We plan on migrating over to HubSpot as our CRM pretty soon. So we're really excited about it. And I just closed the screen I needed to make this work. All right, guys, sorry. I'm gonna live redo this because I just did something.
That's okay. They're just buttons. Click away.
Thank you. It's early in the morning here, so I am, at like 12%. Okay, so we got a sense of it. We will give you something hopefully of value. All right, so as I mentioned, we're going to really kind of dive into some concepts that are things I learned in the last 2 years that really changed my life. So hopefully they are valuable to everyone. If y'all get bored, please just type that I'm bored and I don't want to win at Jeopardy. And then we've developed a maturity model that can kind of help with this. And so we're going to dive into some concepts from the maturity model, which is demand central, availability, launch QA, monitoring, and observability. We're going to talk for a minute about observability in the AI future, and then we're going to workshop if we have time. Ariel is going to be diving in and workshopping a little through this as well, but we'll really open it up and take questions and solve problems. All right, so concepts. The first one, and this one I think is pretty important to understand. There is a difference between a complex system and a complicated system. So the example I've always heard used is that a car engine is complicated, but you can predict how it's going to work. There's a whole bunch of parts and you have to know a whole bunch of different things, but at its core, you can predict it. Traffic is a complex system. It is completely unpredictable. There are too many variables for anything to predict the output. We're building on things, so the so what's not super important just yet. So when we're thinking about the concept of a complex system and we're thinking about revenue, I want you to think about what we've been told. We've been told that this guy is actually Russell Akoff. He was one of the very first people who built lean manufacturing systems. So this guy's 100 years ago is understanding that in these complex systems, we're trying to take everything down to its parts to make everything more digestible and understand it. Like we're trying to take in revenue the SDRs and let's maximize SDR productivity. And then we're trying to take the sales reps and we're trying to break everything into parts to make the system, this complex system that's unpredictable, more manageable. And it just doesn't work that way. It's an absolutely, it was false back then, and now it's even more false. All right, so next concept is the idea of revenue infrastructure, right? So we've got a complex system made up of the systems, processes, and teams responsible for driving your company's revenue. So when you think about revenue infrastructure, for the most part, we think about it being like HubSpot, like I'm a HubSpot admin. But I want you to think about this as everything. Like Supered is a great example, right? Like this isn't just about managing HubSpot. It's managing the behavior of the people. It's managing the processes. Mike Rizzo, if you know him from marketing ops, he loves to talk about it being the in-between, right? These are all the different things that make this system work. And third concept, revenue infrastructure is 1.1 times larger as a spend category, and at most enterprises 1.5 times larger as a spend category than all of their cloud infrastructure. So AWS, all of those things. So if you think about this complex system you're managing, all the people, all the systems, it is so huge and so expensive. So I just want everyone to take a second, pat yourself on the back, because when you're managing this like HubSpot centered revenue infrastructure, you're managing something that is massive and critical and complex, not just complicated. Yeah. And then like that was hard, right? And then we're going to add AI into it. Right? Like it's now, if it was complicated before, it wasn't. It was complex because you had too many moving parts to be able to make it predictable. Now it is completely complex, like indisputably complex, and it's AI. All right. And so we agree it's a complex system. And complex systems are a little different because you can't predict the way they're going to act. So the best you can do is observe that system and make sure that it's working as expected. So it's the ability to collect the data about your program's execution, modules, internal states, and the communication among components. This is the Wikipedia definition. So think about it as understanding that the things we can predict are working and observing it, what we can predict, so we can find these outliers. All right, coming back, this was really obtuse, so I want to make sure anyone's paying attention. If we think about this revenue infrastructure and the system we're managing and what we're observing, what's the goal of that system? You think about a HubSpot-centered revenue infrastructure. What's the goal? If you can put it in the chats. I've officially lost everybody.
Don't be shy, everybody.
We've got growth. I haven't lost officially one person. Drive revenue and growth. Yeah. All right. Yeah, like revenue is the goal. We've got revenue infrastructure. Our goal is to make more revenue, right? And so, yeah, all of these, there you go. You're taking it slow. So revenue is the goal of this complex system. At the end of the day, we're just trying to get revenue out of it. So if we make marketing operations more efficient and have a really great intake process before we build a webinar, and everything works flawlessly in marketing operations, but we've made sales ops teams do a bunch of our dirty work. I love you. Have fun at school. Sorry. And so we've made our marketing ops teams more efficient, and but our sales teams are less efficient. Our SDRs have all this busy work they have to do. Our demand gen teams are having to fill out forms in triplicate. We're not making revenue better. We're making marketing ops better. And so if we go back to like Russell Akoff's thing again, you've optimized the parts, but we haven't optimized the goal, and we should be optimizing the goal. Okay, so now I've told you how complicated it is. Yeah, let's get into how I can help you solve it. Well, and I do want to take a second and talk about what's at stake, because every single person who is building this revenue engine and doing this with efficiently, you are positioned to be one of the most important leaders at your company. Like your company's success and failure, when we add in AI, it's going to be a career defining moment. Okay. I love you. Can I finish my call, please? Sorry. So I want you to think about, like McKinsey said, RevOps professionals are the most likely candidate to lead a company's AI transformation. And so much of that is because you have experience with this complex system and you have experience with the data. And there is absolutely no AI transformation without the data being in a good state. So I want to talk about like, how do we kind of get our systems ready for that? And how do we observe our systems now? So we're ready to be the people who own that. This is our strategic quality model. And there's a whole bunch of it. I'm happy to talk anyone through it whenever they want to think about it, or just meet with your company, whatever. We don't do consulting, so it would just be me because I like these ideas. Yeah, totally humans. And I want to kind of focus on 3 concepts here. One is this idea of demand central. 2 is the concept of just having a well-defined checklist. And 3 is kind of how do you think about automated monitoring, and how these all build into true observability. Okay. I am going to click into someone else's website that I had nothing to do with because I'm obsessed with it. The idea of demand central, that's what we called it at Microsoft when we had, gosh, Ariel, how many people did we have? I think I had 60 people in the marketing ops team supporting 180 different demand gen teams and a bunch of engineers all working up and down this tech stack. So Demand Central was how we made that possible to let people know what was going on in the system, self-service. Like Supered is such an exceptional tool for that. Like, how do you provide the documentation to the people so that they can self-service and do things well? I'm going to just click on this. Again, had nothing to do with it, but I'm obsessed with it. So this is a company called GitLab. This is their Demand Central, or how do you present all of the information you need to present to your company, be able to self-service and talk to each other. And so what I really like about this is that this is where we're going to create the SLAs. This is where we're going to tell the people where the data is. This is the people where we're going to tell them where the systems are. And so, Deanna, I think Supered contextual handbooks or contextual systems, I think is even cooler. But if you think about managing the process and the people part of observability, a centralized place where everyone knows where to go is such a critical part of that. And if we go back to Russell Akoff's thinking, even if your marketing ops team has your own site and your website team has their own landing pages, if you think about your revenue team, you should have a central place where that revenue team lives. And then you can reference those documents and make sure they're referencing back to that central location, because that's the best way to allow these teams to be able to communicate and self-service each other. All right, next. And the reason I always start with that is if we're going to talk about observing our system, who gives a shit if we're observing it if no one knows that it's been observed? Like, you have to communicate to people where these observations are in order to make people more efficient. So this is the concept of availability. It's basically the building block of that revenue infrastructure. So how do you know just that your systems are up and working? It's just the first place to start. So I'm going to have Ariel go into a quick HubSpot systems check, and I will figure out how to unshare my screen. Yeah, I've got total stalkers. Lots and lots of stalkers in my house.
And I apologize. I am going to turn my video off because I'm having some bandwidth issues already and I'm freezing. So I apologize. If I start freezing, please let me know.
You're good. I will definitely keep an eye on it. And if anyone notices anything crazy in the chat, go ahead and let me know.
Awesome. Okay. So the HubSpot checklist allows allows you to test.
Hold on, Ariel, I didn't introduce you very well. So what we're doing right now is we were asked to show a couple of different ways to do this in our product. So Stack Moxie is a monitoring product, and this is 100% free. So we're not selling you anything. If anyone wants to use it, again, we're happy to show you how to use it. And so she's going to go through the checks of just the basic availability of your HubSpot system. Sorry, Ariel.
That was perfect. So something that I always consider is, how do I ensure that the components that make my system usable are working? And with the HubSpot checklist, it allows you to monitor seven critical components of your HubSpot implementation. And with 3 simple inputs, our robots will do several hours worth of manual testing in seconds. You just simply enter your website, your HubSpot landing page subdomain, and your HubSpot email tracking domain. You want to run it once a day. So every day, you have your system up and available, and you just hit create and run. Robots will quickly run through a succession of checkpoints, validating the required setup for a healthy HubSpot implementation, including SBF checks, DKIM, email reputation, and API usage. With our HubSpot checklist, you can easily stay informed on the performance of your instance and to any changes that occur over time. This allows you to never be caught off guard with an operational change that may impact the health of your systems. If something does change, and we do see this a lot with SBF records, DKIM records in the HubSpot tracking pixel, you will now have a history log of performance and can share across teams to ensure standardization across your stack. So here's our 7-point test and the results. We simply navigate to the page and we can see that the HubSpot pixel did not fire. So I know immediately something is going on with my website and that I am missing behavior tracking from my website. It also checks 98 different blacklists. So if you ever happen to come across a blacklist, this will notify you. And this is also really important with email deliverability and all the changes occurring with Google and Yahoo.
Awesome. Okay, so coming back to the idea of managing a complex system, this is a way you can track to make sure most of the time it's our CTO manages our DNS settings. So if they're going in and I do have a ton of children in case anyone's curious, and a pup. So if your IT team is going in and making changes to your DNS settings, maybe they've done something wrong here. Or maybe you get a new HubSpot admin who accidentally makes a small change and doesn't realize it. There are all these different people across your organization who can control all of these different systems. So if you think about observing just a complex system and the availability of the systems that are the center of that revenue infrastructure, this is a really critical way to just know that the systems are up. All right, I'm going to steal you have to unshare it.
Sorry about that. Go right ahead.
You should be. All right. So the next is the idea of implementing this process against those teams. So if you think about, what's up?
Are you driving us?
I'll drive you when this is over, or you can go ahead and walk.
Okay, bye.
If you think about Stack Moxie, we've been around for almost years now, and we've seen hundreds of thousands of campaigns go through our system, and he's 11. God bless his heart. He's in 5th grade. He's huge. So if you think about the systems, the way that we see bad data getting into your system, there's list imports, right? Bad field syncs between tools. So when someone hooks up, the one we see all the time is someone's hooked up a data attribution system like ZoomInfo, and they've accidentally hooked up some of the fields to the wrong systems. And it's dumping, why is my tool free? And it is dumping system into the wrong fields. And you've just got a mess of bad data. The third one is at campaign creation. And then finally, it's sales reps. And so there's these 4 ways that things can break, and I can't fix sales reps. So we're only going to focus on the first 3. Maybe Supered can. Y'all can fix sales reps right when they're entering bad data. And so no one can fix sales reps, and I'm certainly not going to try. Well, hey, AI is going to replace sales reps, so we won't have to fix them. It'll be better. I love the fact that we think that AI can replace sales reps when we can't even make sales reps work right. Sorry. So we're going to talk about how you launch these new things and they work right. There's the our favorite way is a launch QA checklist. So when anyone is connecting something new, whether it's a list import, syncing new tools, or at campaign creation, we need to have a really good checklist of things that all of these different people working up and down your system have agreed upon. It's almost like an agreement between your teams on what accepted behavior is in our system. So Ariel, actually, I realized I don't have the QA checklist. We're going to give you all a good Excel spreadsheet with a checklist. And while Ariel tries to pull that up, I want to talk about the process of building it and managing it. So it could be in a Supered or your Demand Central site, wherever that document lives, you want to come back to it all the time. And everyone who those campaign creations or list imports or new systems being connected, wherever those things come together, you should be using these checklists to make sure that you're all working together and keeping the system intact. So it's kind of in a like the engineers would call it a pre-deployment test. So before you launch anything, whether it's a campaign or something technical, you want to make sure you go through a checklist so that the analytics team can say, no, it always has to be one of these 6 values. Make sure it's one of these 6 values. Or the web team can say, we're always going to structure our website content this way. So make sure you're referencing the URL this way, because these things are flexible, but this is permanent. And so it allows everyone to come together and have a really great checklist so that you can put that data, make sure that data making your system, entering your system is set up right. And there is no amount of technology that can solve that holistically if you don't have a good process in place, because people are going to dump bad data in your system. Yeah, totally. Quality control. Ariel, do you have it? I know Veronica just sent it to us.
I cannot find the checklist, but I am ready to show the example.
Okay, so I will pull up the Excel checklist and make sure that it makes it into the documentation for this. So y'all have a really good example of what it is manually, and you can use it all you want. And Ariel's going to go ahead and show you what it looks like from an automated perspective. Sorry.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, I have to unshare, don't I?
Yep.
I can also share it out with the recording. So if you want to send it over to me, I can make sure everybody that registered gets it.
Awesome. Well, while she's doing it, I think I can pull it up too.
So one of the things I have noticed as I onboard clients, I'm already freezing, sorry, and I am working across teams, is that sometimes little things get missed that have big impact. So the QA checklist really allows you to make sure you have no errors before a campaign goes live across departments and across functionalities. So nowadays, this process is easily overlooked due to deadlines, lack of resources, and not having enough bandwidth. But you do end up paying for it later in your data representation, especially when a company is growing. How can you meet these quality standards at scale? So at Stack Moxie, we're actually able to automate the automated quality process for you. So what is automated QA? Is the process of defining the requirements for a campaign or a program launch across your stakeholders. Think web, analytics, marketing, sales, before it goes live, and testing against those checkpoints. With Stack Moxie, we simply put these checkpoints into a spreadsheet that automates the whole process. Think of this as a per channel representation of a launch. So I'm going to say every time I launch a demand gen webinar, I'm going to follow the same exact process. It needs to be added to a workflow. It needs to be sent the lead needs to be sent an email. It needs to have 5 minimum data requirements stamped on the record. It needs to sync to Salesforce or your CRM or HubSpot CRM, and it needs to fire a task. How do you make sure every time you launch a webinar, a demand gen webinar, that happens in the time frame expected? Well, you can do that with an automated QA. So what we've done is basically put the expectations in the back end, and now we're going to automate the QA of it through the front end. So all I have to do is enter my name, drop in my website URL, put in my variables that I want to test against, and click run. Stack Moxie will automatically communicate with the spreadsheet, fill out your form, and then validate that lead journey and checkpoint across systems. So you can validate every time something goes live that it goes live correctly. So what does that look like? Okay, so what we're doing here is just understanding how all the components work together to build a singular journey of user data and system touch points. The first thing we're going to do is navigate to the page, fill out the form, and make sure all of your required fields are on the form as expected. We're then going to make sure that the keywords are on the page for search optimization. As you can see, this page is actually missing keywords. So I know that whoever built this needs to implement that before it goes live. We're also checking for the HubSpot pixel to make sure that's firing for behavior tracking. We're then making sure the lead gets into the system and that it has a product interest field for routing. So what's really cool about Stack Moxie is that you can use different systems to reference values. So what I'm saying is that this product interest field has to match a pick list in Salesforce in order for that lead to sync over. What I've done now is captured that this form is using a value that does not follow my Salesforce pick list. So I know that I need to adjust this before it goes live. We can also check that UTMs are transferring over the URL and that they're connecting into HubSpot on the right fields. We can look for first touch and attribution. And we can also look for campaigns assignment into Salesforce. So you can make sure every lead gets where it's supposed to be and is attributed correctly in reporting. So the decisions you are making are the right decisions, and you know it's with the quality that you expect every time a campaign launches.
So coming back to the idea of cross-functional teams being able to kind of create SLAs for each other, and then being able, I mean, it's exactly the same point as Super Dana. Like, you want people to be able to contextually understand how they're impacting this complex system at the point they touch it. So this happens to be like the really nerdy stuff, like creating synthetic data and sending it through a system. But it's really about having the different teams being able to make changes to how you test, and then making sure that that data gets in. All right. I'm going to share my screen again.
You're talking to the right group when you're talking about nerdy and making sure that things are connected, right? The admins really want to make sure that everything they've built is functioning properly the way they intend it. And then also when it does break, because we know users love to break things, we break things ourselves. So when it does break, how do we fix it? And how do we see what we need to fix? So I love this.
100%. So yeah, it's coming back to the idea of observability is about being able to observe those systems because they are unknowable, right? They are a complex system that you can't predict the outcome once you add AI in, or once you have all of these people working up and down the system and making changes and configurations in ways that are kind of untraceable. When you're on a HubSpot system, yeah, I learned through breaking too. When you're on a HubSpot system, there's less to break. So if you're using HubSpot marketing operations, their web content, and their CRM systems, you definitely have a more stable system because they're all using the same record. There are less things that could break as they're going across the system. But even then, you have this huge HubSpot ecosystem of potential that you want to make sure is working and working around it. And so when we think about observability, we're trying to understand that, identify when the unknowable and complex is happening. So Ariel's going to take over again. I will stop sharing. Come on, stupid mouse. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. God bless. Yeah, I was watching my mouse in the HubSpot video move. And I was like, why is it not going? So Ariel, if you would share your screen again, we want to talk about how you can bring together these cross-functional teams again. So that HubSpot availability is really about, is your HubSpot set up and the different teams that can touch it. Now we want to talk about one of the things that y'all talked about last week, this idea of Postmaster. So what's happened with Google, if anyone wasn't there, is that they are starting to turn off people's ability to deliver to Gmail inboxes. So for a lot of us marketing and sales reps, that's not very scary because we're selling to businesses. But if you work at a company that has employees or does recruiting, it should scare you a little bit. Because this is about the company, right? We want our company to be successful. We want the system to work. We don't just want my one function to be able to keep spamming people. So if you think about bringing all these people together, that could be impacting these systems. Ariel's going to show you how to monitor your HubSpot.
Yes. So let me.
I'm sorry, Postmaster.
Postmaster, yes. So we all know Google and Yahoo have implemented dramatic new policies for bulk email senders. So how do we keep a pulse on our authority score and spam rates so you know where you stand? Well, Stack Moxie offers a monitor that will tell you when your spam rates or spam score drop below the recommended threshold so you can stay informed and you can catch changes in your reputation and spam rates before they throttle your deliverability. So all you have to do is enter your domain name, schedule for once a day, and hit create and run. Stack Moxie is automatically going to ping your spam rate and your domain reputation and provide a score for you on a daily basis. The power behind this is that you get a rating for where you currently stand, an average for your 30-day performance, and then the last time your system was actually checked, so that you can get a feel for how your system is actually operating. And then if you fall below a certain percentage, you can take the correct actions to fix your reputation before throttling or there are dire consequences to your sending.
So if you think about it, what would happen in the regular world? You and your HR team and probably, let's pick on SDRs again, your outbound sales team would never check this because they just wouldn't want to know, right? But you would have all these different teams that would all of them be impacted by these scores getting throttled, and they would all have to individually go to Google Postmaster report, look up this information, and then share it with across the team when something's wrong. And so what you're able to do from an observability perspective is put everyone on a monitor here. So everyone's getting monitored at the same time. They can see when something is happening at the system, and then you're not tattling on someone. You're not coming to them and saying, hey, I don't know who's sending spam yesterday, but look, yesterday we had a report. Our user reported spam rates were off the chart. We need to come together and make sure, hey, maybe that we're sending enough good email. Like maybe let's send out some product emails that have 90% open rates and no reported spam ever, so we can offset these spam percentages so we're not throttling our Postmaster. So this is just a really easy way to bring together everyone in your company. And what I really like about this for marketing operations people, if we come back to the idea that you are in the catbird seat to bring AI transformation to your company and kind of unlimited potential from a leadership perspective, this little Postmaster thing is a really great way to win respect across your organization, because you're going to come with an automated solution that takes no time from anyone and just show them whether the scores are throttled or not. And so you're not asking anyone to do a big lift. You're not asking to spend money, but you are bringing cross-functional communication to all of the people who are impacted if something in this complex system goes down. And so it's a really great way to show leadership. And then as we start to do like that launch QA checks and observing data in your system, you've already got the reputation as someone who is efficient, isn't trying to like point fingers and cast blame with anyone. You're just bringing everyone together to solve a problem that doesn't need to be a problem. All right. What are the actions to fix it? You know what? We have a landing page, and Anna, I'll send it to you again. None of them are our recommendations, but there's some great research out there on people how to fix the Postmaster authority scores. So we definitely can point you to that landing page because I can't remember it off the top of my head. But we've just collected other people's great advice. All right. And then Ariel, I won't make you switch again. If I can get my screen to go, I can't. I also have a mouse that isn't working, if anyone can't tell.
In my house, it would be someone stole the batteries out of it.
All right. So we have 14 minutes left. It's my HDMI cable that's always gone here. Literally, I come back to my office and my HDMI cable is gone. I'm like, we have 9. Like, where the hell did you eat them? What are you doing? You may not take it out of my office. There is an agency subscription tier. Yeah. So we are at the point where we were going to do workshops. So if there's anything anyone wants to see, we are happy to, if y'all want to sign up, we can show you how to do the checklist. We can show you how to do Postmaster. We can walk you through like emails you can send to people. Yeah. He's the world's biggest 11-year-old. He is 5'7.5". He is a quarter inch shorter than me. I can still pick him up though, and I can still take him. Is he behind me again? Oh, good. He's at school.
You're good. You're safe. He's
We live a quarter mile from the school. My kids literally walk to school every day.
I love it. There were actually
run away.
Oh yeah, no. There were a couple questions. Why don't we go ahead and get through those, and then you can walk through some more of the workshop-y type things.
Okay, perfect.
Sabrina says, is there a way to forward some of these results over to other users in the organization? So you were talking about sharing them and reporting on them. Can you show us? Yeah, there you go.
So there's 2 ways to share. First, you can send an email, and this will send a public run log. What that means is it is accessible to anybody that actually clicks on the link. They do not have access to your system. They only have access to the results of the run.
So if you think about, we had an agency working for us doing Google Ads. When all of a sudden we were getting spam reports from people filling out the form, they had put together an aggressive follow-up sequence behind it. So we sent them the result of the log and let them know we were turning off the follow-up to the Google ad campaign because it was too aggressive, because we were getting spam complaints. And so we shared those run logs with them. So it can go, like, if you have a problem with your HubSpot, right? Like if your HubSpot checklist is set up and your team is telling you everything's working, you could send that public run log to your HubSpot admin. Or especially if you're working with an agency and you need help figuring out something, you can just send those links to your agency, although they probably would have access to your Stack Moxie. So that's not a good.
Awesome. Does the HubSpot website checker only work if the website was built through HubSpot, or what about?
No, we're trying to solve for a complex system, right? So if it's a WordPress or whatever system you've built it on, it will check to make sure your HubSpot pixel is on that system. So your systems remain connected. It will make sure maybe your Google Analytics is there and it's up. So whatever tools you're using to help manage your system, it can make sure all of those are working from your website. And then more importantly, it can make sure that your HubSpot pixel is firing on the page and is being received by your HubSpot system. Because who gives a shit if the pixel is firing if your system doesn't receive it?
That is a fair statement.
Well, I mean, there's lots of tools that do that like you were talking about Spark. I'm sorry about the competitive tools that like, there's lots of tools that just check to make sure it's firing. And it's like, okay, that's cute that your web team says it's firing, but we can show you it's not being received.
And that happens more often than people realize, is that things are actually still firing or not firing. Even though it's sitting on the page, it does not mean that there's a response or that there is a response. And that you could have, we actually just had this with a client who had a migration and they implemented the HubSpot pixel, but there was a snippet of code on the website that kept that code from firing. And so it looked like it was working, but we could record the activity in HubSpot and show that, yes, the pixel is firing, but it's not getting into HubSpot because it's being blocked.
And that's the important information.
That's the important information.
Awesome. Let's see. Jason says, for agencies, is there a way to monitor multiple domains in one account for automated Google Postmaster checklist?
As long as you have the connection to the instance. So you can have multiple Postmaster connections to the same instance and set up different monitoring for different domains, but you do have to create the connection in your instance for that Postmaster.
Okay, awesome. Let's see. Marcus says, can you explain the agency subscription? You can see their org using it as value across the client base.
Oh, I just put the wrong link in here. Sorry. I was trying to put that agency in. So we support agencies in a bunch of different ways. And people were asking about how we charge. So we do charge, but for most HubSpot people, like we have a free tier that is going to be completely sufficient. So if you're using HubSpot and HubSpot CRM together, you don't need to run the checklist, and you've got a small IT team. You don't need to run the HubSpot checklist every single day. You can run it once a week, and you can run Postmaster once a week. You're not going to have enough volume that you need to have a subscription to our product. You can use the free tier. But if you need to run things more frequently as you're scaling up, or if you are running HubSpot at Expedia, you're for sure going to probably use one of our paid tiers. So that's how we charge. So with agencies, if they bring us customers, we do referrals. So we do pay commission most of the time because they're doing the onboarding. So Ariel and her team don't have to get involved. So we're happy to pay them to do the onboarding instead of us doing the onboarding. Our pricing is all 100% transparent. It's stackmoxie.com/pricing. Oh, and I forgot to brag. We're the number 11 HubSpot certified app on HubSpot's App Exchange. So the pricing's there as well. But it, sorry. And we were top 5 finalists at HubSpot Inbound and then Unicorn Pitch Competition. So if you saw me speak, if you look at the video, you can physically see my knees wobbling because I was so nervous being in front of that crowd. Go ahead, Ariel.
I just want to make a note. If we have agencies that are interested in how Stack Moxie can help with migrations, implementations, I would love to spend some time with you. I can put my Calendly in the chat. And again, no, not selling, just showing you what we can do for migrations and implementations. We do specifically baseline testing. What we see is companies come in and migrate from one system to another, a website to one web system to another. And it is impossible to do a successful migration unless everything is operational or outlined as expected. So if you're getting ready to port over programs, if you're getting ready to do anything where you're moving one system to another, we want to baseline it and tell you what is that operational health of that system before you move it to the infrastructure to a new product. So I'm sorry, that's a little bit out there, but if you're interested, love to talk to you about it and how we can help with that kind of rinse and repeatable testing methodology.
And we do have sales teams that help with things like showing like the business case and things like that. So we do have salespeople if you want to talk to them too, because they really help sell internal people and the value of it. But you are, Ariel will literally just help you. She actually doesn't have any revenue remit in her job title whatsoever. Her goal is to just help people use the product.
That's awesome. I added their LinkedIn links in the chat. So if anyone wants to connect with them outside of this, I also share all of the links that the team shares with me.
Yeah. So we owe you the QA checklist, and we'll send you all of the links. We'll also put up the agency sign up link. And then we'll give you our emails. You're welcome to just email us. We're not fancy.
Perfect. I don't have any other questions in the chat, it looks like. If you have a couple other items you want to go through, you've got 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and put the survey link in the chat for the rest of the audience and let us know your thoughts on today's hug and share feedback with the Moxie team, Stack Moxie team, so that they know, how much you're loving all of this or hating all of it. I'm not sure, but it seems like everybody's having a good time and their mind is a little bit blown on the fact that you can actually see all of these things happening, which, obviously as an admin, that gives you a lot more ability to see what's going on and influence decisions that are necessary to help revenue. So I'm loving it. I'm going to definitely take another walk back and make sure I see this on the recordings as well. So if you want to share anything else, if there's any additional links you want to share, thank you for putting your, I see the Calendly link and I see the email for you guys. So if there's anything else you would like to share, I'd love to hear it.
I do want to say one other thing, just because we haven't touched base about it at all yet, but we do 2 types of monitoring. One is synthetic, where we're pushing dummy data through your systems and monitoring all your processes. But we do have a functionality called real-time monitoring as well, where we can monitor real interactions across systems based on object behavior. So if you are saying a lead is created or a case is created or a ticket is created, we can actually watch in real time if subsequent actions are happening against those properties, and then alert you if they're not. So if you're building, making changes, this is a really awesome monitor to tell you when it impacts your system in real time.
Absolutely. Yeah, we tried to only show the stuff that's free. So that's in our paid plan. So just that's why we didn't want to show that in this, because we felt like that was disingenuous.
No, that's
I always like to touch on it though, because it's so cool and it's like a neat feature, but sorry, I probably shouldn't have done that.
No, you're totally fine. Ariel, no one minds that you get excited. It's awesome.
When you get excited about the product you build, that means you actually just really like it and it's probably valuable to someone else. So get all excited. We love it. And if people want to check it out and check out the free one, they can do that. And then when they see all the amazing other things you can do on the paid version, then they'll reach out.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
I appreciate it. Thank you both for joining us, and admins. If you have any other questions, feel free to put those in the survey. I will make sure to share those with the team, and I will see you all next Tuesday. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good one.